So far in this section we've looked at various different ways to perform calculations within Excel and using lots of different functions, named ranges and other features. One important skill that you will need to develop when using Excel formulas is understanding how to audit them a little bit. Auditing Excel formulas can be quite complicated, and there are some very advanced formula auditing tools within Excel. But in the context of this program, which is beginner intermediate, I'm just going to look at the fundamentals of formula auditing. So the first thing that we want to try, and you will have seen me perform this already on some of the previous formulas, is just using the click into the formula bar to see what is being referenced. So when I just click on a cell, I can see in my formula bar what is being calculated, but I cannot see where it is pointing. However, when I click into the formula bar, we get the highlighting of the text in colors, and those colors, my blue sales is pointing at my blue cell, the red cell or the red text is pointing at the red cell. And this is very useful. As I move down the rows, I can see where the relative referencing is pointing and what cells are involved in the calculation. Just a quick reminder that another way to gain access to the formula bar, if you don't want to use the mouse, is just to press F2. So without needing to click, I can simply press F2 and we will move the cursor into the cell and those color formattings will be displayed. The other thing that will become more useful as we use functions more frequently, let me just add an example here and add a quick sum function. It's just a reminder to use these tooltips. With one simple argument, this is not very important, but as we develop multiple arguments, it will become more important and more useful to be able to clearly define which argument is highlighted at that moment in time. At the moment, this is just a simple cell reference. If we had a formula inside of this formula, or what we call a nested formula, it would be very important to see where that nested formula starts and ends. Another very useful function is the display formulas. So within my formula tab in Excel, I have an option called Show Formulas. And I can access this Show Formulas function using the Control and apostrophe shortcut. We can now see that all of the formula values are exposed. So ordinarily when we have a formula in a cell, what we expect to see is the resulting value. With this mode enabled, we will simply see the formula rather than the formula result. This is useful because it shows us where we have formulas and where we don't. For example, just visually inspecting this information, I can see that these are all values and these are formulas, which is useful in itself. Another feature of this mode is it will also convert formatted numbers to just plain numbers. It is effectively showing you what is going on behind the scenes within the formula. To remove the Show Formulas mode, I need to click on the button again or use that formula shortcut again. Another tool that is useful for debugging formula is the Goto functionality. If I return to the Home tab, I will notice that I have my Find and Select. Find and Select is of course where we find our simple find function or replace function that we looked at in earlier videos. But we also have a rather interesting tool called Goto Special. Using Goto Special, we can effectively select cells that meet certain criteria. For example, we can select cells that have comments in them, or constants in them, or formulas. So let's just try select constants first of all. We can see that Excel has highlighted anything that is a constant. What is a constant? Anything that is not a variable, anything that is not a formula. So the other thing I may want to do at this stage is find all the formulas. Now if I go directly to my Find and Select and use Goto Special now, it will try and find formulas within the selected text. And it's important to understand that with Find and Replace and any of these tools, they will only work within the text that is already selected. Or if we have no multiple ranges selected, that is, we need to select a single cell, Excel will now find any matching values within the entire sheet. Whereas if I take a subsection of the sheet and select just these two columns, Excel will perform my search within those parameters. So let's click into a single cell and tell Excel that I want to find all formulas on the sheet. I return to my Find and Select, go to Special, and this time I'm going to look for formulas. I can look for different types of formulas, formulas producing different results. I'm just going to look for all formulas. So again, Excel has, as expected, highlighted all the cells that have formulas in them. This allows me to draw my attention to them and inspect them and make sure they are all compliant and producing the calculations I expect. So I can also use the Find and Select to find formulas with errors. I'll use my Find and Select, go to Special, click on Formulas again, but only select formulas with errors. I'll click OK, and Excel will highlight to that cell which contains the error. A very useful feature. As mentioned, there is a huge variety of formula auditing tools within the Formula tab. However, these become a little bit more complex and are not dealt with in this series. But with the introductory techniques I've showed you, such as clicking into the formula bar to see what cell ranges are being selected, and some of the other functions using the Goto function, you should be able to track and fix most errors you encounter. And that concludes our section on calculation. Later on, we shall have a look at some more advanced calculations.